Yes, and welcome back to the 94 Club for your daily dose of country music. Hey, look, this week we've got Chris Stapleton dropping a new track, so I'm super excited to get into that one. We're also going to look at American Aquarium. Tyler Tuesdays is back. Colter Wall is back. Who else are we going to look at? Corblund as well. I think there's some new artists that are coming to the channel that I've not heard before, so more excited than ever. Anyway, let's see who we've got today. Right, so I think this is going to go up on a Friday. We're going to go with some Cody Jinks David. This got requested quite a lot actually over the last 2 weeks, so I've kind of thought, well, I've got to get into it if it's been requested that much. Apparently it's a true story. I don't know much, if anything, about it. I've heard Cody Jinks a couple of times before and I've been blown away every single time. The guy's ability to tell stories over such a beautiful melody is kind of like, it's top tier stuff, so... I'm going to get the lyrics up here so I don't miss anything, and we'll make sure we get straight into it. So this is set up, and let's go.
All right, everybody. Well, we're back. We're going to let Mr. Cody Jinks start this round off.
Right. I'm ready to sing more songs for you people in Lukenbach, Texas today, right now. New song we've been doing. I got requested for a while ago. Song called David. My friend David was a good kid. He had my back, I always knew he did. He was different than most, and maybe I was too. And hanging out with the in crowd just wasn't our thing. There was a whole lot more than we could see on these plains, where some people just seem to get stuck and hang around. Now it's college or trade school for those with the means. There's never been any small town for those in between. Yeah, the poor folks, they go to work or they go to war.
It's already like the melody's fantastic. I like those little skippy lyrics he does. I don't know what the technical term for those is, but where he speeds up a little bit and jumps forward in the song. The idea of the message so far, I know he's going to tell a story about his friend David, and it's going to tell a bit of a life story, start to finish, about where they met and where they're going to go to on this journey. There's definitely things in here I relate to massively. So the idea of that friendship where you've got each other's back, but also you're different, you don't really feel like you fit in. Me personally, when we talk about this and hanging around with the in crowd just wasn't our thing. I got into the in crowd when I was like 12, 13, and then got picked on. They decided to use me as the runt of the group, really, and yeah, I got picked on. My whole high school was pretty tragic for 3 years. Yeah, I used to get slapped about a bit and kicked and pushed a bit, but hey, makes us all stronger, doesn't it? So I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. I just want to listen to this song now because it sounds so beautiful.
I did 1,500 days in the Corps. When I got back, nothing looked the same anymore. And I got on with the local police. It just seemed to fit. But things had changed. By then David had a daughter and a son, and a rap sheet to prove all the time that he'd done. He was just a burned out, beat down shell of my old friend. And on a 3-day binge, he was speeding through town. And I bumped the whaler to try to slow him down. He didn't know that it was me, and he took off. And oh, how things change. And I found his truck in the floodplain upside down. There was a hell of a rain. I don't know if he drowned or if he died on impact. He must have rolled 3 times. Yeah, the only thing to make matters worse, that his mama's a late-night ER nurse, and he was DOA. She just about lost her mind.
I've got goosebumps listening to this right now.
David's wife drops by every once in a while. The childhood stories always make her smile. Somehow we always go back to that day when I found his truck in the floodplain upside down. There was a hell of a rain. I don't know if he drowned or if he died on impact. He must have rolled 3 times. And the only thing that make matters worse, that his mama's a late-night ER nurse, and he was DOA. She just about lost her mind. Ain't it the times? All right. It's a good, happy song.
So I guess, like, you know, listening to this, I think one of the bizarre things, and I think one of the things that people always do, is as soon as something bad happens, I mean, why does he feel compelled to write a song like this? I think obviously David is someone who is really close to him, and you know, where we talk about times changing in the song, it's for him, he'd gone away, and I do this as well. Like, I go away, I always think things will be the same when I get back, and they always do change, and for this time they change much for the worse. Because he's gone away, and David just isn't the same person he was as when he left. But I think the interesting thing is that he'll paint it in his head of like, well, should I have stayed put as well to make sure that he'd have stayed on the right track, or should he have come away as well and got a little bit of discipline? Because that's something that I would imagine the corpse definitely teaches you. Anyway, let's kind of run through this. And I mean, it's just an excellent song. I already know, like, I've just listened to it. I picked up every word without needing to read the lyrics. It's one of those that's so well written, you pick up on the story straight away, and you're in as part of that song. Like I say, I had goosebumps. It's just fantastic, but we'll go through it. So my friend David was a good kid. He had my back, I always knew he did. And he was different than most, and maybe I was too. And hanging around in the in-crowd just wasn't our thing. There was a whole lot more than we could see on these planes. Well, some people just seem to get stuck and hang around, and I think that kind of alludes to maybe what David did, and maybe he got stuck in a way and probably got in with the wrong people. Because I think, you know, as I said earlier, I got in with the wrong people when I was at school. Fortunately, they started picking on me and I got pushed out, and I think it's one of the best things that ever happened. It definitely gave me a look on life of, it made me understand people more, particularly because a lot of the things I would listen to at the time would tell me that they were going through worse situations than me, which is why they picked on me, and a lot of that came true. Anyway, I know that's not what this is talking about. It's going off on a bit of a tangent, but that essence I could definitely relate to. It's college or trade school for those with the means. there's never been any small towns for those in between. The poor folks, they go to work or they go to war, and that's the decision a lot of people make. I know it's definitely something that played on my mind a lot. Fortunately, I fell into a career path that my father also did, and I've turned out to be alright at it. But my grades at school were terrible. I just didn't do well. Like I wasn't. I wouldn't say intellectually I wasn't that smart. I wasn't that like, I wasn't exam smart. Like I couldn't do exams too well. I think if I'd have grown up elsewhere without the support that I do feel grateful enough to have had, then I would have probably ended up in the army like family members before me. My granddad was a bricklayer. My other granddad was a barber. So they're definitely two routes I probably would have gone down. But through my dad sort of breaking that mold and me following in his footsteps, it made me realise sort of how creative I could be, and also use my understanding of people and empathy and care for interactions to work together. So it's definitely sort of, that's definitely helped a bit. But there's definitely people that go down this track where I'm from, for sure, where they don't have that support. And I think going to war, it's not a bad thing. A lot of people do need it. And he offered that up, and obviously David went to work, he went to war, and it gave him the discipline he needed. Otherwise he could have ended up in a very similar position. So he says, I did 1,500 days in the corps. It was like 5 years, just less than. When I got back, nothing looked the same anymore. I mean, it's a substantial amount of time for things to change. I got on with the local police, so we got a job in the police force. It just seemed to fit, but things had changed. So he took that discipline that he learnt in the army and he brought that back into his local police force. And then, so he talks about David. So David's obviously this one friend that he had that he kind of painted the picture of him being a certain way, and he's got back home and he's not the same guy anymore. And he says, and a rap sheet to by then David had a daughter and a son, and a rap sheet to prove all the time that he'd done. He was just burned out, beat down, shell of my old friend. That is such a powerful line. Like the image of him, like he looks the same to look at. It looks like the guy who he'd left behind, but it was just vacant. And on a 3-day binge, he was speeding through town, and alcohol can do that. I mean, you use it as a short-term release. I think one of the things I know about drinking is when you have a few drinks and you wake up with a bit of a hangover and feeling remorseful and things like that. And I think if people then decide to drink to get rid of those feelings, that's when drinking can become a problem, and it can actually sort of wear away at your character a little bit, because you become dependent on it and you start missing out on things like you're not going to be there for your daughter and your son. You're going to be spending time in prison because you're going to be making decisions that you wouldn't usually make when you're sober. But here, so he says, and I bumped the whalers to try and slow him down. So he just tried to, sort of let him know he was there, and slow him down with his car more than anything, because once this guy's had a drink, he's just caning it down the highway. He didn't know it was me, and he took off. Oh, how things change. And yeah, I mean, drink driving is a thing. Obviously, you feel a lot more confident when you've had a drink. If you're taking it to these sort of extremes and you're sort of caning it down the road, then why are you going to stop for anyone? You think you're going to be able to get away with it. You don't think as straightforward as you would when you're sober, or as rationally. And this is the bit that really sort of got me, and I found his truck in the floodplain upside down. It was a hell of a rain. I don't know if he drowned or if he died on impact. He must have rolled 3 times. I think the only peace of mind out of that situation is knowing that he had a few drinks, and he probably wouldn't be as scared as he would have if he'd have flipped his car when he's sober. However, it's no peace of mind at all, really. The only things to make matters worse that his mum was a late night on us. It's just crazy to think how this chain of events, because obviously over the first half of the song we talk about we paint a picture of who David is and how David's one of his closest friends, how he's changed, and he's come back, and then we really sort of get into the I guess the present time, and the next few lines is just over the course of probably a couple of hours. It's just an incredibly well written song. So yeah, his mum was the ER nurse on the ward when he got brought in, and he was dead on arrival. You just couldn't even picture that. Then he says David's wife drops by every once in a while. The childhood stories always make us smile, but somehow we always go back to that day. And that I guess these 3 lines right here is the whole essence of what the song is. The first half is the childhood stories, and then the second half of the song is it always brings you back to that moment. And I think this song probably would have acted as closure maybe for a lot of people that probably knew David, and it's just a beautiful way to do it. I know, like, you might read that and go, well, why are you writing that and sharing that story, and painting David in that light? Why don't you just remember him for all the good things he's done? Because I don't think you learn then, and I don't think you go, well, he was a great man, and he probably did develop a bit of an illness with alcohol. But yeah, I mean, just a fantastic song. I mean, I think Cody Jinks is a master of his craft. I'm going to listen to it again because I really enjoyed the melody. I enjoyed his voice on there. I enjoyed the song as well, to say what kind of song it is. And I guess there's quite a lot of people that can relate to this kind of thing. Especially those that go off to fight in the war, who do learn a bit of order and then they come back hoping everything's still the same, and it has changed. So yeah, Cody, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Anyway, as always, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest videos, and please hit that subscribe button, and you will become part of the community here. And we'll be so grateful to have you. So just get involved in the comments, get speaking to people, share your opinion on songs, share your stories and experiences as well. Anyway, for now, that's me. Thank you. Peace.